Let's go!
I have had the honor of talking to a monkey.
Full disclosure, I can understand why someone would find that funny.
Takes you back to your childhood, takes you back in time.
Respect.
Of course.
I thought you were being so incredibly rude. Mediums are just out to get your money.
Oh my God, like this is crazy. So she picked the perfect day to die.
Hi, I'm Matt.
Alrighty.
And I'm going wherever it takes, being joined by old friends
Oh my God, that's a maggot.
and making new ones.
Is there any part of you that doesn't believe?
All to answer the question,
That's good out of me.
are we alone?
We're back in the car again. We're traveling one more time.
On the road of love.
Nice. Is that a copywritten song? We are not traveling too far this time, just down the road a bit to meet a medium and soul gardener
Oh, that's a great title.
who is going to help us answer the question, are we alone
In this realm.
in this realm? I thought that finger was going to touch me. I'm very excited. You're a little bit more spiritual than I am.
Yes, I am fairly spiritual. Not spiritual as I would like, but I am a Buddhist. I actually spent some time in a monastery as a monk for a few weeks. But to be honest, I've also kind of, I feel like I could also learn a lot more.
You've drifted pretty far
In a
from God's
way.
light.
Well, you know what? The Buddha is a lot more accepting of my behavior than
That's
God
true.
would be. So, you know, kapchai lai to the Buddha. That said, I definitely would love to learn more about my religion, and Buddhism in general does obviously ascribe to the belief in like reincarnation.
Right.
And I believe that there are spirits around us. So I believe in the presence of spirits. However, the whole profession of mediums, the cynical part of me is like, okay, charlatan. I'm
Yeah.
looking for money. So like, that's where I get a little skeptical.
We're almost there, so let's go answer the question, are we alone?
In this realm.
Austin Wells is a medium and soul gardener and author of Soul Conversations, a guide to tapping into your soul's wisdom, connecting with the universe, and communicating with loved ones and guides in the spirit world. After a tour of her beautiful home, we joined her in opening Sacred Space, and she invited us to ask our questions about connecting and communicating to the great beyond.
I once did a video about erotic hypnosis. The kink was through watching the scene where Mowgli is hypnotized.
Sexual behavior is one of the things that's good for making your energy good.
We've been here for 25 seconds and Arya's made it about sex. I'm leaning forward to stop Arya from talking again. What? Do you go by a medium? I know that you use the phrase soul gardener, which I haven't seen before. Can you describe that?
So I identify as a soul gardener because I love to support and mentor spiritually seeking individuals to cultivate their intuition, heal their heart, and connect with the divine.
Oh, that's beautiful. What a title too, that's fantastic.
Thank you.
It's very evocative. Like it makes sense when you hear it
Well,
too.
it also pulls in all these crazy disciplines that I've studied that it gives a nice umbrella to it that allows me to do that. And plus it infers the fact that having a relationship with nature is paradigm.
So the whole point of this show is to kind of answer the question, are we alone? What would your answer be?
If you pursue that question from are we physically alone, you're gonna find one answer. A medium will answer it very differently.
In a room by myself, what would the answer be?
That's where it gets interesting.
Gotcha. And that's why we're here.
You are surrounded by a multitude of people known to you and unknown to you.
Unknown to me, that was gonna be my immediate next question.
Like a succubus.
That's an awesome word. Can you educate me?
A succubus is, I believe, a demon or a spirit that they make love to a person until they die.
Thank you for enlightening me. And I will also just kind of add to this. I work in the energetic realms all the time. And I don't encounter creepy crawlers. I just don't.
Just gonna pause it real quick. I have just a quick question. What is wrong with you?
I mean, I felt that was a pretty valid, a learning opportunity for all of us, I felt.
Yeah. Did you feel that way when she reacted the way she did, which was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, that's how I build connections with people. You know, I push them to their limit very quickly.
So we just talked to her a little bit. You did get to meet her just a tad. Where are you on, I think this person is a con artist.
I will say that at this point, you know, she invited us in. She was very, very genuine, very sweet, very gracious, a beautiful home. But I was still, you know, I was pretty hesitant. So, you know, obviously, you know, being Buddhist, I'm always curious, you know, about, you know, what is life after death, reincarnation. is a very big part of that. And as I get older, family gets older, parents get older, I always wonder, like, what is that next step after?
One of the beautiful things about Buddhism is absolutely that embrace of the afterlife. Many different cultures believe in that idea of the continuation of life. And so we shouldn't be afraid of it. We're disenfranchised from ourselves. We're disenfranchised from death because we're not making a relationship with it.
In the book, you talk about one of your first experiences, if it was the passing of your father. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because I think that's so fascinating.
My mom and I were trying very hard. We were trying to kind of tag team being with my dad in the hospital. So when my mom was there, things were, he slept, there wasn't any issues. I got like the whole shebang. He was in massive pain. I saw all sorts of really difficult, when you're talking about death, like difficult things to witness your loved one going through. I could feel his soul starting to shift. So there was one time I was sitting in his room. I said to him, Dad, if you can hear me, can you please do something to let me know that you can hear me right now, because you look like you can't. And within 30 seconds, and I'm totally honest about this, within 30 seconds, my dad sat up and without looking at me, he said, "Those are some very tall men with wings." And then he laid back down and he didn't talk for another 2 days. But my dad, on a soul level, I think wanted to share that with me. So I was aware of what was possible.
I'm relatively untouched by death. I don't necessarily feel robbed of anything, but I do think that, like, what a blessing that would be.
My dad was my teacher in his death. I think I held a space for my mom to step into what was fearful for her.
So in your communication with, spirits, beings outside this realm, does that extend to non-Homo sapien human beings as well?
I can't tell you how many people have a closer relationship with their pet than they do with two-legged people. Because the unconditional love that they grant themselves permission to love something, that's the hardest part of grief, is letting that part go.
The question that I'm having is, why is that stuff happening to you, or why did that happen to you, and why hasn't it happened to me?
I think the sadness for me is when people think that what's happened for one person can't possibly happen for them. What you're essentially saying to the universe is, I don't want it to happen to me. I love the fact that I get messages and spiritual signs all the times, and I open my eyes and I look for that in the world. And then what transpires is your life becomes a series of events where you start realizing that you're not the only driver. Your mind has to open to it, for sure.
I want to just check back in because now we're getting a little real, and I wanted to see where you were now.
To welcome people into your home, to open yourself up like that, to ridicule, not just from us, but potentially people online, that's a brave thing to do.
Yeah.
And I appreciated that. And furthermore, like, it was just such an out there story to tell that I actually thought, maybe it did happen.
Yeah.
Maybe there were angels in her father's room.
I've been around people who've had experiences with death and passing that have said kind of wild things happen. I don't know if that's like a coping mechanism, or there is something operating on the other side of the great beyond. I also loved that she mentioned the thing about talking to animals. I had a dog that I wasn't there for when she passed. It was 8 years ago, and I feel bad about it. Don't make that face.
No, I feel bad.
Yeah, I'm just excited to see, maybe I can, speak to my dog again.
After a lovely little lunch in Austin's beautiful backyard, we sat down to find out how Matt and I might be able to get closer to receiving the messages from the spirits using an experiment that you, the viewer, can try at home.
We're starting in this world. What can we do to kind of get closer to hearing the universe?
Okay, close your eyes. So the first thing I want you to do is say to yourself 3 things that you need to do when you get home. Okay, stop. Now, I want you to focus on where that voice is in your head. Then I want you to imagine talking to yourself about something that you're not pleased with about yourself. And stop and notice where that voice comes from. And now I want you to picture a pet or someone that you love in spirit. And I want you to imagine they're standing in front of you. And if they had an opportunity to say something amazing to you, and where does that voice come from? Take a nice deep breath in and exhale. Now open your eyes. What did you discover?
That felt a little bit natural to me because I've done body scans before.
Everything that you do as far as energy medicine goes, or mediumship, or anything that deals with that which is invisible, is an experiment. And we have to be skeptical about it. There's a lot of, when you're dancing around things of having, physical evidence of mediumship.
Can I approach that question? How do you reconcile the criticism or the concern that people think, oh, mediums are just out to get your money and are full of baloney?
How I would answer that is with a complete respect for the person that believes that. Something in their experience has dictated that that's true. The people that don't believe in it, God love them. I hope they find what they need. If they don't need it, awesome. I hope they're doing fantastic and they never need to have those kind of conversations that sometimes other people do. I don't have anything to prove. It's not ego for me, it's service for me. One of the ways that I have worked with clients is I would suggest that they step into the spirit cabinet, step into a space and make it possible for them to demonstrate it physically.
Is that something we can try?
Yes.
I'm glad we get the opportunity to pause and revisit this because this is something that I couldn't mention in the moment. I thought you were being so incredibly rude.
I can see why you would think that.
Were you like, everything she's saying is ridiculous, or were you like, maybe some of this is registering?
I mean, I definitely agree with you. And I think my answer for my reasoning why may actually surprise you. And it's because I was actually taking a lot of what she was saying into my noggin.
You were.
I was deep in thought. Like I said when we were in the car before, I really was like, I've been, in many ways, I've wanted to reconnect with my Buddhist, my spiritual side. So in a weird way, despite all my skepticism, being able to talk about spirituality in this sense, about spirits, it made me just think. It made me think, I feel like it's important for me to reconnect with that side of me. And so when she was talking about all this stuff, and I apologized to her for seeming so rude, but it was just because actually her words, everything we were talking about, actually affected me a lot more than I thought it would.
How did that affect your thought about the spirit cabinet we were about to go into?
Now that's interesting because the spirit cabinet, the skeptical side of me was still like eking through, it was, I don't know, there's cameras rolling, there's all these people staring at you. Like, am I really gonna have a true spiritual experience?
That's good to hear. I wasn't even paying attention to you at that point. I was thinking, I'm about to talk to my dog.
Okay, so we are here in front of this, I believe you called it a spirit cabinet?
It's a spirit cabinet. And what it allows you to do is step into a space where you can really feel just your own energy of your soul. So there's a difference between mental mediumship and physical mediumship. Physical mediumship is when a disembodied spirit uses a body to create an evidence of intelligence beyond our own.
I think I'm most nervous about being stared at for 5 minutes, honestly.
When you step in there, become conscious of, okay, if I'm feeling uncomfortable, where do I feel uncomfortable? And go into the somatic relationship with it and like discover, how do I feel? What does it look like? Does it have a color? Investigate it like you're a detective and then see what that relationship is. That will relax you probably. And we'll be able to, see what we see.
You ready?
Yes.
I just want you to imagine that in front of you is a glass pane, and I want you to feel the space between you and that window. And then just imagine on the other side of that glass pane, you're just looking out at memories of your life. And one of the memories is around a pet that you've loved. Takes you back to your childhood, takes you back in time. And open up all of your senses to that experience. And if ever you find your mind wandering at all, just go back to the memory, or just let yourself go where you go. Take a nice deep breath in. And exhale. There you go. And when you feel ready, you can go ahead and open your eyes.
So we did the spirit cabinet thing. I went in with the intention of saying goodbye to a dog whose passing I wasn't around for. I was able to envision her, my dog. There was a mental block for the most part. I just saw the dog and I was there and just kind of staring at me.
The experience in the spirit cabinet was interesting. I really was trying to go in there with a very open mind. You know, I was raised Buddhist, and so I wanted to try and get in there and maybe find ways to maybe understand more, or maybe hear voices, perhaps. I don't know if it was the Buddha's voice or someone else's voice, but I was trying to hear something. I don't know about you, but that was actually a little bit of a heavy session in a way.
Was it?
Well, in a way, I felt like at some points I was kind of like spacing
I
out.
was wondering, because I was like, is he lost in thought? It certainly spurred my interest in meditation on further. My experience in the spirit cabinet, that one was tough for me because I did see my dog, which is who I wanted to see.
Oh, nice.
But I remember what my dog looks like, and I could have potentially put her
conjured
there.
up the image.
Yeah. There was a moment where we were wrapping it up, and the guided meditation from Austin was say whatever you wanted to that pet of yours. And I did say, hey, goodbye, I'm sorry I wasn't there. Saw my dog just kind of walked away. Didn't really react, didn't really say anything, didn't really give me a thumbs up or anything like that. But I did, feel like a sense of closure.
To be completely honest, I didn't really feel anything. There were times where I thought, I could go for a nap. I've never been much of a meditator, and so towards the end, I was actually getting a little antsy. I was waiting for the timer to go off.
Either way, I did feel safe and comfortable in that moment, and I think that I can take that with me for sure. And actually, Alejandra had a different experience in the spirit cabinet.
Alejandra went in the spirit cabinet?
Yes, went in the spirit cabinet while you were pooping, and had a different experience. I recorded her, and here's a clip of that.
It was like euphoria almost. And it was me not only finding like my actual happy place, it just brought me back to my childhood.
There's no telling, honestly. As far as like, are we alone in this realm? I don't know if we can answer that.
Yeah, I don't think we can, and I don't think that we necessarily need to just yet in our journey. I mean, for me personally, like I said, coming into this, I do believe we are not alone in this realm as far as spirits being everywhere around us. I do believe that.
And if you're interested in exploring it, I think her book is a great place to start. There's a link to it in the description if you're interested. And I feel like it's one of those things where you have to experience it to be a real, true kind of believer. We didn't maybe have that tonight, but we're still interested.
Yeah, absolutely. Even in some ways, like in my case, even more so. Perhaps I should be more curious about exploring my faith. In some ways, I've lost touch with it, and that's not good for a former monk.
Guess what? I just got off the phone with where we're going next.
I have no idea, but my curiosity is piqued.
We're going to the Pacific Northwest to hunt the elusive Sasquatch.
That is a dream come true for me, not necessarily because of Squatch, but because I get to go back to the Northwest, one of my favorite places in the world.
I'm hoping that you stay there.